The Ottoman Empire, spanning over 6 centuries and stretching across 3 continents, is often remembered for its formidable sultans, vast conquests, and intricate bureaucracy. Yet, behind the throne, a cadre of women wielded extraordinary influence, shaping the empire's destiny in ways rarely acknowledged by traditional histories. These were the wives, mothers, and concubines of the sultans, figures like Hürrem Sultan, Kosam Sultan, and Turan Sultan, who transcended the confines of the harem to become political powerhouses. The untold truth about Ottoman women in power reveals a complex world where ambition, intelligence, and resilience turned supposed subordinates into de facto rulers, challenging the patriarchal narrative of the empire's golden age. In Ottoman society, the harem was more than a private residence. It was a political institution. Far from being a gilded cage of idle luxury, it was a crucible where women competed, strategized, and governed. The Sultan's mother, known as the Valide Sultan, and his favorite consort held sway over appointments, alliances, and even succession. This influence peaked during the 16th and 17th centuries, a period dubbed the Sultanate of Women, when figures like Hürrem, Kösem, and Turhan left indelible marks on the empire's trajectory. Hürrem Sultan, from slave to sovereign. Hürrem Sultan, born Roxelana in the early 1500s, began her life as a captive, likely from Ruthenia, modern Ukraine, sold into slavery and delivered to the Topkapi Palace. Her rise was unprecedented. As the concubine of Suleiman the Magnificent, the empire's most celebrated ruler, she defied tradition by becoming his legal wife, a rarity in Ottoman history. This marriage, formalized around 1534, elevated her status and gave her a platform to wield power. Hürrem's political influence was subtle, yet profound. She corresponded with foreign monarchs, including Poland's Sigismund I, forging diplomatic ties that bolstered Ottoman interests. Within the palace, she maneuvered to secure her son's futures, orchestrating the downfall of rivals like Mustafa, Suleiman's eldest son, by another consort. Mustafa's execution in 1553, widely attributed to Hürrem's machinations, ensured her son Selim's path to the throne. Her charitable works, mosques, schools, and hospitals further cemented her legacy, projecting soft power across the empire. Hürrem's story shatters the stereotype of the passive concubine, revealing a woman who reshaped Ottoman succession and foreign policy through sheer will. Kosam Sultan, the Queen of Intrigue. If Hürrem broke barriers, Kosam Sultan built an empire within an empire. Born around 1590, possibly of Greek origin, she entered the harem of Ahmed Bur as a slave named Anastasia. Rising to become his favorite consort, Kosam's true ascendancy came after Ahmed's death in 1617. As Valide Sultan to her sons, Murad IV and Ibrahim I, and later as regent, she dominated the empire during a turbulent era. Kosam's political acumen shone during Murad's reign, 1623 to 1640. With the Sultan young and the empire facing rebellions, she acted as his de facto co-ruler, managing court factions and military campaigns. Her influence persisted under Ibrahim, whose instability, she reportedly orchestrated his deposition in 1648, tested her skills. As regent for her grandson, Mehmed IV, Kösem governed directly from 1648 to 1651, issuing decrees, negotiating with viziers, and suppressing uprisings. Her reign ended tragically in 1651, when Turan Sultan, her daughter-in-law, ordered her assassination amid a power struggle. Kösem's 30-year tenure as a political titan underscores the harem's role as a nerve center of Ottoman governance. Turan Sultan, the builder of stability. Turan Sultan, born in the 1620s, possibly in Russia, emerged from Kosem's shadow to redefine the Valide Sultan's role. As consort to Ibrahim I and mother to Mehmed IV, she faced a formidable rival in Kösem. After engineering Kosem's death in 1651, Turhan assumed the regency at age 25, guiding the empire through a precarious transition. Her rule, from 1651 to 1656, marked the end of the Sultanate of Women, but not before she left a lasting imprint. Turhan's political influence was pragmatic. She stabilized the government by appointing capable grand viziers, like Köprülü Mehmed Pasha, whose reforms curbed corruption and strengthened the military. Her most enduring legacy, however, is architectural. The Yeni Valide Mosque in Istanbul, completed in 1663, symbolized her authority and piety. Unlike Hürrem's flamboyance or Kosem's ruthlessness, Turhan's power lay in her ability to delegate and endure, ensuring her son's long reign. Her story highlights a shift from overt control to strategic influence, adapting to a changing empire. Beyond the big three, other influential women. The Sultanate of Women wasn't limited to Hürrem, Kösem, and Turan. Figures like Nurbanu Sultan, consort of Selim II and mother of Murad III, bridged the gap between Hürrem's era and Kösem's. Born Cecilia Venier Bafo, possibly a Venetian noble, Nurbanu rose from captivity to Valide Sultan, 1574 to 1583, advising her son and negotiating with Venice to maintain peace. Her intelligence and charm earned her the nickname the Venetian Sultana, and her endowments, like the Atik Valide Mosque, echoed Hürrem's legacy. Safia Sultan, consort of Murad III and Valide to Mehmed III, 1595 to 1603, wielded power through wealth and diplomacy. Her correspondence with England's Queen Elizabeth I, including gifts of luxury goods, strengthened Ottoman English ties against Spain. Safia's influence waned after her son's death, but her tenure showcased the harem's role in international relations. These women, though less celebrated, were vital cogs in the Ottoman machine, proving that power wasn't confined to a few. The mechanics of power, how they ruled. How did these women amass such authority in a male-dominated empire? The answer lies in the Ottoman system itself. The Sultan's reliance on the harem for heirs gave mothers and wives leverage. As Valide Sultans, they controlled access to the ruler, shaping his decisions and appointments. Concubines like Hürrem gained favor through charisma and childbirth, then parlayed that into political capital. Alliances with eunuchs, viziers, and janissaries, elite soldiers, amplified their reach. Their education, often overlooked, was key. Many learned languages, law, and statecraft within the harem, preparing them to govern. Their wealth, derived from estates and trade, funded patronage networks, binding elites to their cause. Yet their power came with peril. Rivalries led to assassinations, as seen with Kosam and Turan. This high-stakes game required not just cunning, but survival instinct. The cultural and historical impact. The Sultanate of Women reshaped Ottoman society. Their charitable foundations, mosques, schools, and soup kitchens, elevated women's public roles, challenging gender norms. Politically, they stabilized the empire during succession crises, though critics argue their meddling weakened sultanic authority, paving the way for viziers to dominate later. Globally, their diplomacy linked East and West, influencing trade and culture. Their legacy endured beyond their lifetimes. The architectural marvels they commissioned still stand, testaments to their vision. Historians now recognize their agency, moving beyond romanticized tales of harem intrigue to view them as stateswomen. Yet their stories remain untold in many circles, overshadowed by the sultans they served, or surpassed. Reassessing the narrative. The untold truth about Ottoman women in power is that they were not mere accessories to empire, but its architects. Hürrem's audacity, Kosem's tenacity, Turhan's foresight, and the contributions of Nurbanu and Safia reveal a spectrum of leadership styles. They navigated a world of rigid hierarchies, turning the harem into a seat of power. Their influence challenges us to rethink the Ottoman Empire not as a monolith of male rule, but as a dynamic system where women, against all odds, held the reins. This era, spanning roughly 130 years, was no anomaly. It was a structural feature of Ottoman governance. These women's triumphs and tragedies mirror those of queens and empresses elsewhere, yet their slave-to-sovereign arcs are uniquely Ottoman. By peeling back the layers of myth, we uncover a truth as compelling as any battlefield victory. The empire's strength lay not just in its armies, but in the minds of its women. The untold truth about Ottoman women in power unveils a hidden chapter of history, where Hürrem, Kosam, Turhan, and others defied expectations to steer an empire. Their stories of ambition, intrigue, and legacy remind us that power knows no gender, only opportunity. If this dive into the Sultanate of Women captivated you, please like this piece and subscribe for more journeys into the past's overlooked corners. Until next time, reflect on the shadows behind the throne, where the real history often hides.